Hello guys, welcome to yet another Banter Blitz with me, International Master Andrey Ostrovskiy. Unfortunately, last week I couldn't be with you because of my state of health. I'm still recovering, but I feel myself much better than 1 week ago. So let's just play and learn together, just as usual, right? And just as usual, I would like to know if you can hear and see me well. A good picture and a good sound are essential for understanding what I'm saying, and that is probably my primary goal here, to say something useful for you, to make you be a better chess player after all, even if just a bit. Okay, so as Hermes says, video great. So the sound is probably not that great, especially with this, sound effects on the background made by my kids right now. So I promise they will be there not for a long time. So like, I guess 1 more minute or something. And okay, so everybody says that the broadcast is more or less fine. Let's start then. Let's have a look at what do we have in the sense of challenges. So there is a question: did you have COVID? Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. So we have some, and since we have several, I'm going to look at somebody I've never ever played before, but maybe it will be hard because as I see it right now, I played at least 1 game against every challenger, so I will decline 1 challenge coming from a non-premium user. So you can watch, but you cannot play. That's the rule. Yeah, so let's just take 1 by 1 then. Onam is first today. Okay, and I'm playing with white pieces, right? Let's go. So let's have a look. Everything looks more or less okay. All right. So d6 may lead to different openings. After knight f6, again, black still has a possibility to go with perts. Like after g6, there is also a possibility to play something like e5, which is more like a Philidor. So against this, I usually develop my pieces in the style of Yugoslav attack. So trying to play on the king side to attack this pawn formation, g6, h7, f7, with the bishop on g7 with the fianchetto. Its typical plan is to play g4, h4, h5, stuff like that. Alright, so b5 here. My knight is not on c3, which means we can play a4 here, undermining the b5, potentially getting a better pawn structure. It's not the only plan, obviously, so I still have a chance to castle short, for example. So if I get some prospects of playing positional on the queen side, then most likely I will castle short. For example, if b takes a4, rook takes a4, we have a target on a7, the a file is open, and of course there will be no chance for me to castle long anymore if I take on a4 with the rook, so that I will most likely develop my pieces like bishop d3, knight e2, and castling. Alright? So grounding student probably joined like a minute ago. What is this COVID thing? Andrey had COVID. No. Guys, I don't think I had COVID, okay? So at least, yeah, I had no problems with breathing. It looked like, just typical stuff for this season in Germany. So slight problems compared to what it could have been. So no worries, I guess. We're still not good enough for, making a stream. That's why I decided to postpone it, because, would have been just terrible. All right. Okay, now the only problem here, for me, potentially, I guess, is the b pawn and the b file. So black may play something like rook b8 or maybe queen b6, I don't know, probably rook b8 at some point. and just exert some pressure on b2. So if I have this pawn on b3, I think there is no problem for me whatsoever. I will just have healthy extra pawn, and yeah, I guess I still have time though, so let's just develop the knight first. Knight goes to b6, and yeah, I think b3 right now is exactly what white should try here. To cover c4 square, because that's the only potential strong point for that knight on b6. Now it's very limited and doesn't cause a problem, I suppose. And yeah, we can just castle, I guess, right? So why is just a pawn down? I don't see a problem. Well, I have 1 minute on the clock, but we play with the increment, I believe. So here is a question from Prom student. Are you working on your chessable course? Not sure if it is a question to me. Don't know. Maybe it is, actually. Okay, now knight on c3 is under pressure, but not that great pressure, because it's protected with the knight from e2, so I think I can just play rook to a2 here. Although bishop d4 deserved attention as well. But I'm just, you know, going away from that pin, protect the pawn on c2, and have in mind this maneuver, knight to b5. Attacking the queen. That's why I played rook a2, to have c2 protected. And now when the queen goes away, I have two ideas. I can either play c4 and support my knight on b5, or I can just immediately move my knight to d4 with the idea of occupying c6, which became terribly weak after the exchange of light square bishops. It was for you, Andrey says. Okay, Kramnik student says that the question was addressed to me. So, if you create a chessable course, you will teach everything. Well, it was not chessable course. I mainly talked about, you know, a chess course in general. So not necessarily using Chessable as a platform for it. And no, I didn't yet start it. But it's a good idea. I'm thinking about it right now. I mean, nowadays. But I will do everything incrementally. So I have just come back after a long break to streaming. So as I said, like 3 weeks ago, the plan is now to make it a routine. And then we will see. Okay? But it's definitely in you know, in the set of my midterm plans for sure to make a course, or several even. So h3 with the idea of playing f4 because I want to grab some space. Because this pawn structure gives you exactly this plan. Why not? So I'm just getting closer and closer to black's pieces, black's camp. That bishop is still annoying though, so I should do something with that bishop on g7. Oh, probably I will just, you know, get rid of the pin again in the same manner like I did when I played rook to a2. And now I suppose I'm completely fine with just jumping to c6 finally. And now b4. Oh, knight e7 was absolutely winning. But b4 looks also great because this knight on c5 has no moves as far as I understand. So if the knight now goes to, say, e6, I can just take it. I can start with knight e7. Absolutely winning position for white. Well, actually, the whole game was just... you know, conversion of the advantage after a takes b5. I don't think that black had sufficient compensation for it. Maybe the only idea that black had here was just to attack the bishop immediately after rook b8, let's say. But even this doesn't look enough, doesn't look sufficient, so I just play c4, protecting b2, let's say. a7 is under attack. So something like a6, well, maybe an idea, but again, doesn't feel really convincing to me, so I can just even go to a4, why not? And then knight to c3, so on and so forth. So maybe some compensation, of course, because of the b file open, maybe some prospects are just exerting some pressure there. But honestly, I don't see it. I don't see compensation. So b takes a4 could have been a way to play, in which case I have a better pawn structure, but it's still, you know, not so clear if I have a clear plan of exploiting it in the near future. And black is okay here. So knight d7, knight b6, literally what black did in the game, but having the position with the balanced material, I think a much better thing. And another consideration here, a good idea for black, I suppose. So yes, if you play c6, you want to play b5 normally, but it works okay, it works well even sometimes, if the knight is already on c3. When you have a target, right, you play b5 with the idea of playing b4 to get rid of that knight, which is usually a good defender of e4 and d5 squares, and then you have something in the center because of the absence of the knight on c3. When the knight is not on c3, when you play b5, you kind of attack nothing, right? So you waste your time, and you just create a target, a simple target for white. So I don't think that was a good idea for you. Yeah. Okay. Let us continue. Let us continue. The next was Zevich, accept. I'm playing with black pieces here. Playing with black pieces. So today I can play normal openings, right? Last time we met, it was a special episode where I experimented like crazy and played a lot of non-standard for me, non-standard openings. Well, this time I'm going to play something normal. But well, we will mix it with some crappy openings as well, I promise. So, knight to f3. And after knight to c6, I think we have a normal transposition to one of the two knights defense lines. Yeah, sort of. Could have been after castling short. Here I usually move my knight to d7. So the main theoretic line starts after knight to e4, but I've been always lazy to learn it. Especially after I noticed that after knight to d7, which is much easier to learn with black, black also gets pretty decent position with pair of bishops. Although to get that position, black needs to play some weird stuff. So as you can see, the knight from g8 went all the way to b8. So from one flank to another one, which looks weird indeed. But what black got for it is the pair of bishops. A normal development, so there is no problem with castling here. And at some point, I'll just start pushing my pawns in the center, and my bishops will become much more powerful pieces, especially the light squared one, I believe. Okay, so the idea here is to play f5. I can play f6 undermining the pawn. I can also start with the c5. I think I will start with the c5 to control f5 better, and e6 as well. So f5 is no longer the case. So black can forget about it for like a minute at least. So let's continue with the development. Let us continue with the development and undermine the e5. That's the plan. So I guess right now it's a good moment to try it out. E takes f6 I can take with the rook. So again, I believe it's okay. d4 now. Maybe a candidate for sure. Bishop to g4 may be another way to play it. a bit more risky, but also more dynamic. Well, I don't know. Another thing here is the B file, which is open. So let's try to activate the rook this way. It's probably not critical for white. B3 is still completely alright. But then I may consider something like A5, A4, getting rid of my weakened and potentially weak pawn. On the A file, rook to B1 doesn't really help if I play bishop F5, right? So I think that was a mistake. And here we start feeling that, well, white is really missing the light squared bishop, right? Because black exclusively controls the light squared complex in this situation. Knight to B3, really? Just giving up an exchange? Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it for sure. Now let's continue with the C4. C5 was under attack, so why not? Yeah, I mean, it's an extra exchange after all. And we have enough space for our rooks. So I believe white shouldn't have sufficient compensation here. That's what I think. Now, getting to the conversion stage. Light squares are now not that perfectly controlled, right? Because I have just lost my light squared bishop. I have just taken the rook. That was a good thing to do, but now I have to be careful about light squares in principle. They're just not controlled. Compared to what was there just a few moves ago when I had the light squared bishop on the board. They're just not controlled that good. So now I'm thinking of, just playing queen c8. Now trying to replace the missing bishop with a queen. It's a typical strategic thing. To control light square complex with the queen. And I do believe I have to do this sooner or later anyway. But right now, should I take that knight on c5, which is quite annoying. In that case, I give up a control over dark squares. I don't really know. So it's a risky move, queen to c8, because I no longer protect d5 really good. But I think it's worth doing anyway. And e6 is pretty risky for white here, I guess. That pawn may drop. But knight d7 is coming at the same time. Yeah, good question. Probably queen c8 was not that great anyway. Okay, let's give up the exchange, but win a pawn. I think we have an easier position to play compared to some lines where we keep the extra exchange, but run out of space. Yeah, so I like my position now. I have several weaknesses in white's camp to attack. Everything's fine, but I could have played better. Probably bishop takes c5 immediately instead of playing queen to c8 was a better choice for me, after all. So Prom Knight says that we haven't played since May. Well, that's a good reason to actually play today. Check. All right, so king can go to h1. Oh, f1. Really? I mean, this should be very risky. Maybe d4 is not the best move to prove it. Queen e4 was probably a very strong move that I missed entirely. That was a move. Queen e4, just attacking my knight and creating a threat of rook e8. God damn it, I'm playing badly. Really, this game is absolutely not convincing. So I had an advantage at some point after bishop f5, a clear advantage, and then started playing like an idiot. That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. But now I'm fine, I guess. So, because rook is under attack, and if knight takes d4, take with the queen again, there is no way for white to connect the queen quickly to attack. Well, obviously there is something like queen e1, and probably that was the only sensible way for white to play. Well, no, yeah, queen e1. So white should have activated the queen as soon as possible. Right now, position is quite strange. So I'm attacking b3, but there is still a problem with the back rank in my camp, which means I have to be extremely careful here. Okay, so my kid is playing this game against me. Oh, god damn it. That's the second time during the last 2 episodes. We have to do something with it. Something specific. That's crazy. Oh, dear lord. What am I doing here, huh? I'm just misplaying it like a complete moron. God damn it. Yeah. Yeah, playing on time. Like a loser, like a complete loser. Sorry for that. This game was just terrible from the very beginning till the very end. Well, not from the very beginning. Somewhere around bishop to f5, the strange things started. So bishop f5. Rook is under attack. Knight to b3, then captures. Okay, already here black has a clear advantage. So how to convert it? So probably I should have started with the f takes e5, right? Because there is the thing that I do repeat. It's every time when I have an extra exchange or my opponent has an extra exchange. So the idea behind this advantage is that your rooks need to have open files. Otherwise, they're just not better than minor pieces. That's the thing. So f takes e5 is one step further towards the position with as many open files as possible. So that's the strategy. So here is the question. By the way, do you speak normally English or German with your family? I speak Russian. So that's my first language, and that is the language of my family. So f takes e5 first, prior to pushing that pawn, I think. And after f takes e5, then c4. And look, after knight to c5, just feel it almost physically. How is it easier for black to coordinate the pieces here, right? So the same position, but with the f file open. And it's a different stuff already. So you can play queen c8, let's say, and if white plays something like e6, you capture on c5, capture on c5. You don't even have to sacrifice the exchange anymore. You can just bring that rook to normal square, like f6, let's say. That's still a bit, you know, strange though, after knight to g5 attacking h7, but I think it's manageable thing, right? Maybe it's better just to take that knight after all. Maybe that is the easiest way to deal with that problem. Yes, we lose the control over dark squares, but on the other hand, we forget about these problems with e6 square, d7, with this e6 push and stuff like that. That was probably a good idea for me. And here, I think I started playing so badly. For example, here rook back to b8, waste of time. Why not knight to e5? I just don't understand. Why didn't I play that move? So knight e5 with the idea of just taking on f3 or moving the knight to d3, which literally forces white to take, I guess, in which case I have this amazing center and still extra pawn, so clearly better position. Instead, I played rook to b8, gave white this chance, Then I played terrible move d4. I think after queen e4, white could have been even better. I'm not sure, but the knight is under attack, right? And there is a threat of rook e8, which is also potentially very annoying. I'm not sure how to play here even. Yeah, so doesn't look good anymore. So that was probably a great chance for you to come back to the game. All right. And once again, after knight takes d4, knight d4, queen d4. Yeah, b3, too passive. So your only chance here is to be active, right? And for that, you need your queen in the game. So I guess queen to e1 was your last real chance to cause some serious problems to me. There is this threat of rook e8. It's not a joke. After rook e8, queen e8 is a checkmate, so I have to react somehow. And winning f5 pawn, for example, doesn't help. If I play queen d3 or queen f4, okay, king g1, queen f5, rook e8 still wins for white. If I push my h pawn, then rook e8 still works. So I don't know, maybe I should go all the way passive like this now, which gives you some time and some hope, right? So you can improve your queen like this, protecting f5 and tending rook to e7 and stuff. Okay, so something like that. So too passive, my friends, too passive. All right, next one. Okay, thanks God, white pieces, so we can dictate to some extent what's going to happen in this game. God, maybe it's a good idea for me to play trash openings after all. Just imagine I would have played something different, not e5 in the previous game. Might have been a much better game. But anyway. So, what do we have here? We have this mix of Sicilian and Ruy Lopez. So I'm playing it as if it was Ruy Lopez. I don't care that black has the pawn on c5, not on e5. And this is one of the interesting variations here. All right. Yeah. Okay, we should protect d4 here. Probably mixed it up already. I don't know. I think black could have played something crazy like c5 even. Would have been consistent with this idea of having the bishop on g4 pinning my knight. And this is just like in Ruy Lopez Exchanged. In my opinion, never a good idea to give up that bishop. And now, pay attention to dark squares. They're all weak. I guess black did something wrong here. And look, I have a center for nothing. So, yeah. This should be the position with the clear advantage for white now. So, better center. Better control over the position and dark squares in particular, potentially. Now, how to convert it? We have several ideas here. We can exchange the dark square bishop. This should be the most logical one. For that, we need to have d4 well protected to make our bishop free and move it somewhere. Okay, let's start with just, centralization. We'll see how to deal with this a bit later. So one rook there, another rook there. Everything is ready for stuff like d5, let's say. Now, what I don't like about my position is this pawn on b2, potentially vulnerable. If black plays on like queen to b6, let's have it on b3 simply. And yeah, now we're ready for some maneuvering. I still don't know what kind of maneuvering it will be. So one of the typical ideas here is to bring the knight to c5, let's say. So to make it a bit more active compared to c3 position. Right now it supports d5, so it's not passive, but I don't see how I may implement it. Anyway, if we have the knight on c5, we have a pressure on b7, which is nice. That's the one idea, just to play knight a4, knight c5. Exerting more pressure on black's camp. Another idea can be as I said before, to try to exchange the bishops. It's not so simple though. And f5 looks like a pseudo-active thing. Just a pseudo-active thing because e6 is no longer stable, right? On the other hand, how to get there? So if f takes e4, I'm completely fine with that. I will take with the queen and we'll just attack e6 immediately. And the only problem here is that black may consider playing something like f4 next move. This may be annoying. We can also just play e5, giving up d5 square. I know, but no, I don't like that. The problem is that if we play bishop g5, then bishop takes d4. Maybe we should just take on f5, also a move. Or we can play slightly passive knight e2 control on f4 and overprotecting d4. Yeah, I think I will go with this one. And it's not entirely passive, because from here the knight may jump to f4 later, attacking e6, which was weakened just a move ago, right? My queen looks odd now, but I don't see how black is going to use it, right? Aha, just e5 immediately. Wow, something interesting. I mean, I didn't expect that at all this stuff happening here. But it can be just okay for black, right? It can be just okay. God damn it. Okay. Let's play it hard. Let's play it hard. For now, it's possible because pawn on c6 is pinned. And queen d6 is probably a bad idea because it gives me this move. Bishop to c5, so I start, you know, making my position no longer that clumsy. So there are different ideas now. I can take on e7 and take on c6. That is probably the easiest way to play it. And I think I will not overcomplicate the things here. So just getting the clear advantage in the Blitz game, I think that's the key. All right, now let's get to the queen side where black's weaknesses are a6 and c6 pawns. And the pawn structure is very pleasant. So let's give this check. Can already take on a6 if we want. We can also improve the knight slightly. I don't know. Let's play knight to c3 just to protect e4 pawn, to have a2 protected. If f takes e4, just take with the knight. Perfect knight here. Yeah, pawns are just separated from each other, and hence they are very vulnerable. And that bishop is very bad, right? The bishop is just terrible. Having no perspectives whatsoever. Okay, let's run away. So, a dream position, right? What do we need here? We can use light squares now to break through move by move. We can also go like this. Also light square. So, no contradiction here. So we're just avoiding that bishop. Using the squares that that bishop doesn't control, protect, so on and so forth. Alright, we have to be careful though about black's counterplay. So the only counterplay that I can imagine here is like queen e3 and then queen f4. Not necessarily that dangerous, but potentially a what? Perpetual, right? I think we're faster here though. Bishop to f4 again, not dangerous in my opinion. So let's just attack h7. I don't see a good defense here, right? Just don't see a good defense. We can play g3, we can play just king to h1. I think both are equally good. Rook is henning, h7 is henning, game is over. Right? Right. Game is over. That knight was also great in the sense of controlling some stuff like g3 and f2. So I could have played g3 even, and no worries because my knight controls f2, so there is no queen f2 or something. But such a knight is always a great thing. Okay, so this position is more or less clear to me. I mean, the evaluation is quite obvious because, you know, white has no weaknesses here whatsoever, only black has weaknesses, and there is no doubts that such a knight on e4 is a much better piece than the bishop on g7, right? So, at the very beginning, I think I played something strange, although maybe it was fine, but probably h3 is a correct move here. I don't remember, actually. I haven't played this line for ages with white pieces. So here, I would have considered something like c5. Because that's a logical continuation of bishop g4 stuff, right? So you're just exerting pressure in the center. Your main target is d4. So why not playing c5? Especially when I have a problem with the b2, right? So I cannot easily play d5 or d takes c5 or just take on b2 there. Wow. So that was an interesting move. I'm not sure what to do here even. Okay. So I don't know, really. And when you play queen to c7 and this exchange happened, well, everything is clear. White is better. Well, maybe this advantage is not that big, but it's quite stable and quite noticeable. So I have a better center here. You have weakened dark squares and pretty passive pieces. So that bishop is good, attacking d4, but your knight, well, it's hard to find any useful work for it, right? So, here we go. Let us continue. Patrick is the next. Playing with black pieces. Playing with black pieces here. So, after c5 to play e5, okay, you can just take on d4 anyway, and damage my pawn structure then. If I take with the bishop, you can take on f3, and I cannot take with the queen because my bishop on d4 is hanging, so I have to take g takes f3, which is suboptimal at very least. Okay, so let's continue with Patrick. Let's go active, like c5. So I told you I'm going to mix the stuff with some crappy openings here. This version is not good. If white just plays d5 and then if e6 plays knight to c3, I guess that's the best way to react. In this case, well, we're gonna have some central play now. Should I play queen b6 or knight to c6? I guess we can even play e5, right? That's a famous trick. Look at this, e5, bishop e5, queen a5. Am I crazy or I'm just winning a piece here? Yeah, I was about to actually miss that, right? Oh, crazy. And literally everyone knows that, right? But yeah, I've seen this obviously. Like similar things, but I never played it with black, so. Yeah, good. Nice. Alright. Extra minor piece. Extra minor piece here. So Azur says how many pieces I win on this trick is insane. Oh. Nice. Look at this. Never actually had a chance in my entire career to play something like that. Crazy. Okay. Let's go. It's funny how, you know, cheapos make our life better. Oh, it feels so great. To trick your opponent. Oh, dear Lord. 94 was winning, right? It's still winning, by the way. Still winning. That's that move. Still winning. Oh, it was already winning, right? Aha. What? Knight takes d2, knight takes e5, bishop takes c3, I believe. B takes c3, then not back to e4. There are different ways to win this. Queen f6 is one of them, by the way. No, queen f6, knight takes e4, bishop takes d2, check, right? Okay, I'll just take the queen. So, just grab pieces one by one. Okay. Then knight back to e4, and white doesn't have a satisfactory defense against knight takes f2. All the pieces are still inactive and not coordinated hands, and yeah, it's easy. It's easy to find the next target. Okay, makes no sense to play on, I guess. Yeah, absolutely, just extra minor piece and no compensation. Well, what to say? There is a reason why after c5 you should care about your center. Of course, bishop f4 is not a terrible mistake. After cd4 you just have to take with a queen, right? And although black has some initiative, some slight initiative here because of your exposed queen, I still think that position is pretty much balanced. And instead of playing that move, I guess d5 is correct and the strongest indeed, because you grab space, and if e6, you don't have to support it with the pawn. You can play knight to c3. I think that is the great difference compared to normal classic Benoni stuff when white plays d4, c4, and then after c5 plays d5. And this position where you can keep your c4 pawn, sorry, c4 square empty for other pieces to occupy, not the pawn, because the pawn is not necessarily the best piece there, right? So knight would be great. So stuff like that. So if I take on d5, you have a better pawn structure indeed. If I don't, you just continue with the e4, and then knight d2, knight to c4, this sort of maneuver. Of course, you should include a4 to control b5 better. So you just have a pretty nice, pleasant position to play. Okay, so let's continue. Let's continue the next one. And this is 3-minute game, so I have to be much faster. So Patrick says I'm very angry. Well, come on. Now you know it. You will never fall into that trap anymore. All right? So it's a good thing. That's a good thing. There is always something positive in stuff like that. Okay. Don't remember. Just castling here. Just castling here, and bishop to g5. Not sure. Well, let's ask the bishop what is the guy doing there. So clear. Okay. What about this move? So the point behind rook to b8 is that there are no tricks based on that bishop f6 and then bishop d5 pin, right? So there is a question even from Batman, why rook b8? Just to avoid that trap. So bishop g5 takes, then bishop d5. That helps a lot. All right. Now, it's time to get rid of that bishop, I think, and that knight on d5. That's annoying. Another way to play it was to take on d5, play knight e7, knight g6, but I would rather, exchange that light squared bishop for opponent's bishop than otherwise. Okay, knight f6. I obviously take with the queen. Now that's a good question. So we can take with the queen, just a normal thing. Or we can take with the pawn open in the f file. And I guess this is a bit more interesting here. So let's do it. Let's give some, you know, work to our heavy pieces. Because otherwise the position is quite closed. There is nothing to do. Now at least there will be something to do for our heavy pieces. Okay, let's maneuver the knight. This knight belongs on f4. Let's get there. White has the A file open, we have the F file open. So White has some positional stuff to do on the queen side. We are mainly hoping for some attack against the king. Will be not simple, of course, to organize anything there, but we'll try our best, right? We'll try our best. Oh, well, knight to f4 looks very, very tempting. So let's do it. If g3, then knight takes h3 check, and we take the knight on g4, so it's definitely not possible. And now we can play queen to g3 if we want. Do we want it, though? I'm not sure. h5 is definitely not doing a harm here, so let's try that one. Okay. Now getting closer a bit. Still nothing specific. But, well, trying to, you know, provoke something here. And knight takes g2 is possible, right? Yeah, knight takes g2 is an interesting tactical shot. If knight takes, we take the queen. If queen takes, we take the knight. And the knight is hanging, so we're fine here. Boom. Still not clear position, but now should be like a bit clearer. So to keep queens on the board or not? That's a good question. I have no idea. Let's try this one. Again, not sure what is the best way to play it, but this looks not entirely terrible. Not the best, though. Okay. Okay. Now, this one should be easily winning now, because we have two connected passers, right? The only problem is the time on the clock, but my opponent was very generous just resigning here. Okay. Yeah. Interesting game. Well, the first I'm more or less satisfied with, although my technique was not perfect. For sure, maybe it was better for me to, you know, just play something like c6 here, although I didn't really want to make something like this, right? To make my rook passive, and then king g2, and how am I going to win that, right? So I have extra pawn, but to get that, you know, my pawn structure is not ideal, so I have a doubled one here. So I guess rook takes f3 was correct decision. But then the question is if I did the right decision giving up that pawn so easily. That was probably a mistake. So instead, I could have protected it, but then the question is how do I make a progress? Because white can play b5, b6, further weakening my queen side stuff and getting new targets seamlessly. While I'm not sure if I have any good plan, except for, you know, just bring my second rook there and grabbing all this guys on the third rank. I don't know. right? So maybe that was correct after all. The only question is how to play this one correctly, because I definitely need some time to get to the B file now. And if white plays b6 and then immediately b7, well, there's rook c8 followed by b8, right? So I don't know, I didn't have enough time to calculate the things properly here. Maybe d5 was the right move. Let's have a look. d5, b6, let's say. b7 is common, so I have to play this one now. And then rook to b2, then b7 probably. But in this case, we can see a big difference. So white doesn't have the c4 supporting the pawn, right? Yeah, I think this is a better version. The question from crowning student: rook f7, walk king to d8 or c8, then go pawn hunting. It's too slow and probably not implementable even, because if I play rook to f7 here, white may start with this move, let's say, and I don't even get there. I'm not even getting there. That's the thing. So I have to go there and then b5, and then anyway, or maybe not b5, maybe something like rook b7 again. Yeah, just to keep my rook there. Might have been an improvement though. I don't know. Hard to say. So I think that was correct what I did, but then a bit later the technique was not ideal. Maybe, as I said, d5 was the right way to play. So d5, separating the c3 and b pawns, and then after, you know, rook d2 and rook b2 just in time, stopping that pawn. It's an easier way to play compared to what happened in our game, right? Because I played rook d2, then rook to b2, and then c4, and, well, hard to make progress here. Moreover, after rook to d2, king to g3 was stronger. And then after rook to b2, let's say, and c4, white is ready to play king h4. My king is still very passive. And if I play g5, it's a good question if I can ever, you know, activate my king. Although, it may be that I don't even need it. So I can play rook b3, then g4, h4. Yeah, probably also the thing. But for things like this, you know, you need much more time to just calculate the stuff. You don't have it in a blitz game, right? So you need to trust your instincts, and they're not necessarily telling you truth, okay? Especially if you're in a bad shape. All right, thanks a lot for the game. What was wrong? Hard to say, but I don't really like the idea of bishop g5, bishop f6, although it's absolutely playable thing, but I guess white can get better chances in other lines, like maybe knight d5 immediately can be considered a move. That bishop may go to e3 sometimes. Okay, we're playing with white pieces in this game. Still a 3-minute game, so I have to be faster than normally. And I didn't notice Foxy here, all right? So I could have played real opus exchanged in case black's a6 move, right? So Foxy is a person who's really irritated by bishop takes c6 decisions. Rook e8. So h6 was already played, right? So I don't have this bishop g5 stuff. d5 is not necessarily prepared. Do we have time for... No, we don't. So let's just play knight to g3. Knight to e7. Goes to g6, I guess. Interesting idea. Interesting idea. Okay. I think we did everything we could. It's time to be a bit more aggressive in the center, otherwise we're getting absolutely nothing. What black is doing? Is it just a, you know, direct attack? Maybe. Maybe. Let's improve the stuff a bit here. I guess my queen can jump to f3 at some point. There is also an option of doing something like, say, knight f1, knight e3, maybe. I'm not sure. There's stuff like knight h5 possible as well, since black's pieces are slightly away from the king side, right? Okay, bishop c6. What's going on here? Knight to h5. Nope. Doesn't work, I guess. Knight to g4 is another idea. Well, I like knight to g4 move. So we're deflecting black's pieces from, attacking central squares and potentially increase our pressure on the king side. So after knight g4, hg4, we have some g5 resource like that. Oh, what? What? No, this is not how it works. For sure, this is a terrible idea because black is definitely not ready for this sort of operations. Yeah. Should be just immediately lost, I guess. Alright, so just queen h5, attacking h6. So many targets now, come on. d6 comes to mind. Attacking f7 instantly. There are many good ideas here. I'll just play this move. Because why not? Okay. Not a big deal. So it's not about pawns anymore. It's about just, terrible pawn structure on the king side. Right? And our attack there. And look, that rook is completely out of play. Just completely. Knight to f5. Or bishop to f5. Or we just take here first. Knight to e4 is also a good idea. I don't know. Hard to say. I mean, everything should win here for white. Now, how to protect h6? That's the first question that comes to mind, and probably there is no answer. Because there is no defense. Okay. I'll just go back. There is no way black can survive it. Just no way. 97 next move will win the queen, or maybe queen g4, queen g7 and stuff. So, what happened? Well, d5 happened. That was just a very strange decision. So after knight g4, you should definitely consider taking on g4, maybe going back with the bishop to d7, but definitely not d5, because you're just not ready for it. Because I'm attacking now, after knight g4, I'm attacking the main supporter of this d5, right? So it's definitely not a thing to consider even. Maybe you missed that fact that I'm attacking the knight. I don't know. Otherwise, yeah, it's hard to justify something like d5. Yeah, I understand the general idea behind it. Like, you're better developed and you want to open up a position, but come on. White's position is not that vulnerable here to make a thing like d5 work, okay? Andrey Ostrovskiy is here. Wow. So, we're missing Zevich X. Next one, accept. And Miktal as well. to bring all the usual suspects together. I mean, e4, d4, knight f3, c5. Let's take there. So what we got here is just, you know, accelerated dragon, after all. So I didn't want to play it, but I was forced to. On f4 here. Oh. White is playing aggressive chess. Okay, nice. Nice. Uh-huh. This way. Okay. Let's just get some counterplay here then. So I definitely have to go away with the knight now. Let's go to d7. Okay. Now what? We need some counterplay here, quickly. So I'm going to exert some pressure on e4 potentially. And that knight on c3 is just a typical target, of course. So knight to a5, does it look good? Yeah, it looks good enough. Let's get there then. So now e4 is under pressure for sure. We have some ideas of the exchange sacrifice, which is typical. So rook c3 damaging the pawn structure, then bishop takes e4, grabbing very important central pawn, which should guarantee the proper compensation for missing material. Now there is just a direct threat of taking on c3, winning the game. And if knight jumps to d5, we can take on d2, take on d5, and take on b2, which gives us a pretty normal ending. There's definitely no problem with the attack whatsoever. Well, I'll just take it, all right? There is no way it can be bad. It can be only good. Right? So I'm not going to recapture with the bishop there after b takes c3. Absolutely no. I'm going to either take on e4 with the bishop immediately or play knight to... No, knight to c5 doesn't work. Yeah, so I'll just take on e4 first. A bit risky, I realize, but... Well... Anyway, we have a much better pawn structure now. Very good center. There definitely should be some sort of compensation for missing material, and bishop e5, oh sorry, bishop d4 gives me a chance to play e5 immediately, so let's do it. Let's just do it. Bishop to h1 was suggested, but I don't think it's going anywhere, so I'll just do this first. Because the king on f2 is kind of, you know, vulnerable guy. We want to make the position a bit more open, which is a very natural thing to do. The only issue with it is that after bishop goes away, the knight on d7 is hanging, but okay, we'll then take on h1 first. Queen takes d7, we're just getting back to e4, something like that was planned. And now we can do what? Just go back to c7 with the idea of knight to c5, for example. Right? e4 is also our possibility here, I guess. Let's start with the knight to c5, though. So knight to e4 is a threat. White cannot ignore. Now what? Rook to d8 looks very natural. Let's do it. So knight e4 is again a threat. We can do it right now, yeah? I suppose. Knight e4, check. Bishop e4, rook d2, check. And then taking on g6. H takes g6, I think. There will be a problem to convert it, of course. But I think anyway, black's advantage here is obvious. Rook to h3. Alright. Bishop to f8. That's the thing. Rook to d3. Is there a threat? I don't see one. So let's grab the pawn. The Prom knight asks e4 is winning. No. Yeah, it does. And knight to e4 wins as well. So I prefer the queen here. Now what? Queen to e7 looks very natural to control d8 and attack g5, which is very hard to protect. Now we can just start with the march of the pawn. And queen b7 wins the bishop in this case. Yeah. My suggestion was at another point. Probably. I mean, e4 is a good idea. At any moment, I suppose. Well, what happened here? Why was too aggressive on the king side? So I believe it is possible to play this aggressive stuff with h4, g4, g5, even if you have the bishop on e2. But somehow white failed to, you know, get something significant there. But black got very simple play on the queen side. So maybe a3 was not good already. But on the other hand, I don't know. So h4, h5 also looks pretty slow. But a3 definitely wastes the time. So I have no idea. Maybe h5, h4, h5 after all was a way to go. Because if I play b4, you have knight to d5. But then again, I can take on b2. The question is if it is a good idea. Maybe you can sacrifice an exchange there. I don't know. So normally if you want to play something like aggressive like that, then probably bishop e2 is not the best plan. Alright, so you should tend to get some sort of, you know, Yugoslav attack sort of thing with the pawn on f3. It's more efficient usually. But against the accelerated dragon, of course, I understand it's probably not so simple. But still doable, right? Okay. Let us continue. P99, 27:53 and 3-minute game. Oh my god. This can be just the end of my winning series, right? Yeah, maybe smashed here, so I definitely have to be much faster. Okay, so probably Catalan. Catalan here. Alright. So I'm usually playing this close Catalan. So it's not a big problem for white to get prepared for it against me. I mean, because I never change, I guess. Never change. All right, let's try this one. Not the best one, of course, but anyway. So the only achievement I got here after all this exchange is that that bishop on g2 is not necessarily that great. That's the only thing. Everything else looks just not good for black. It's pretty passive. pretty passive. So I have to take that one. Otherwise, it's getting just directly to d6. And now the question is, should I take on e5? Is it even possible tactically? So I take on e5, queen goes to c3, let's say. That's the most dangerous thing. And then I play something like f6 or maybe bishop f6. This may be very dangerous, actually. Very dangerous. Do I have a better thing to do here? I don't know. So let's say knight takes e5, queen to c3. Then I play f6 with the pawn. There is bishop going to h3. I can play something like bishop to c5, bishop e6 check, king goes away. Then b4. That's crazy. Crazy stuff there. I don't really like it, so I'll play this move first. Just as usual, Prom Knight says pretty passive. That's why the closed Catalan is a rubbish opening. Well, even the open Catalan is pretty passive for black. I would tell you a little secret. People just somehow fail to understand it. Okay, I will take on e5. Yeah, that was not very surprising. And now I wanted to put my bishop on c5. Should I do it right now or not? It's a good question. I don't see a big problem with it. Right? Yeah. Let's put it on c5. Our bishop should be better than white's one, so we have some perspectives here of some sort of attack on the king side. I would be happy to play something like g5 to stop white from playing f4, let's say. Okay, let's play a5 here. I think it's very natural to prevent immediate b4. There are ideas like queen b2 already. Okay, so what to do now? Rook to c8 can be played, right? Oh, it's a waste of time, I guess. Something like immediate g5 would have been a good one. So yeah, g5. The question from Grounding Student, are we not helping to the bishop g2 taking on e5? Well, we're also helping our pieces in that case, so it's always a question who benefits from it more. This way, or just taking on c3, I think, right? And then rook d2. This looks good for black already. Well, black is definitely not worse here anymore. Black is better, actually. It was clear after bishop to c5, I think. Check. What is this? This is just winning for black instantly, right? Just instantly winning for black. My god. Okay, let's take with the pawn. Having a2 under attack. Now let's take there. Okay, that's completely lost now. That's completely lost. That's completely lost. That's completely lost. Completely, my friend. You can resign because I have enough time. I have enough time to win. All right. So, yeah. I thought that after knight takes e5, where did I play it? So here, e4. Yeah, this all looked quite good for white. You know, sometimes it makes sense to sacrifice an exchange here. Maybe it's not that position, but sometimes white may consider something like knight to d6, actually. Because bishops are not of a big help here for white in such a position, and the knight can be really annoying there on d6. Why didn't I take on e5 immediately? I was a bit afraid of this move. Maybe that was not justified. Actually, what I missed here was a simple bishop f6 move, although this is not clear, okay? So if f4, I do have this thing to do. But again, I'm not sure if it is great for black, because now I have some problems with that bishop, right? If I play bishop a3, there's b4, just trapping it. And if I go back to f6, there's e5. Well, at least, yeah. Black is not worse here, but not better, for sure. What I didn't want to do for sure was this f6, because of bishop h3 move. And, well, position becomes really good for white's bishops, right? So that's what I was trying to avoid. That's why I started with like rook to d8 move. Doesn't really change anything, but at least brings my rook to more active position. And again, I think that queen to c3 deserves serious attention here. Not sure what to play here. Bishop f6, or probably in this particular case, since the rook is already on c1, and my rook is on d8, so I have a deflecting factor, I can play something like that. And if f4, then knight f3, takes, and I control d4. That's a big difference. So if rook goes somewhere there, I have at least bishop d4 check, right? So, check, and then c5, supporting the bishop, stuff like that. So here I should be better, of course, with extra pawn. So I guess that white should have just protected the pawn with f4 or something. And this position should be, in my opinion, somewhat balanced, all right? Because that bishop is not perfect, pawn structure is not perfect. On the other hand, black cannot really exploit the majority just right now on the queen side, which should be, you know, just mutually equalizing factors. So black will play, I would have played something like a5, maybe controlling b4, maybe then placing my knight on c5 and trying to simplify the stuff a bit on the d file. White could have tried, you know, just pushing pawns here, maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe intended something like rook d6 positional sacrifice. So with the queen on c3, it's possible to bring the rook to d6, another one to d1, stuff like that. All right, good game, thanks. Prom night is the next, so accept. Really have not played since May, as it was mentioned before. Let's do it now. Knight to c3. Okay. What's going on? Aha! A new thing. A new thing. So before this game, as far as I remember, Prom Knight usually played Scotch against me. This game is different. Okay. Let's try something crazy. Risky stuff, obviously, because black is weakening a lot. But, well, we'll see. Rook to b1 was probably the best move there. Immediately attacking b7, which was weakened by the missing light squared bishop. Now I have what? A better way of avoiding all these complications there. For example, I may start with the b6 here. Weakens the knight, but I can move my rook immediately after it, like rook to d8, let's say. And that's it. There are no problems with the b7 on the queen side anymore. But I do have problems with light squares for sure. What to do now? That's a good question. Knight to d4 looks the most promising here. I think that is exactly what I should play. Everything else looks like trash for now. Strange game, says Batman. Absolutely. Absolutely strange. That's right. That's right. Everybody says strange game, strange game, strange game. It is. That's good, right? Foxy would be completely satisfied here. No passive stuff. No, you know, this exchange to Lopez bullshit. Everything is just fresh. Looks good. So any name of opening. I'm not sure. I'm used to call this G3 stuff with Bishop G2 is like a Gleck system. Named after Grandmaster Gleck. He was one of the experts there. I don't know. Maybe there is another name of this opening. I have no idea. Let's castle now. Since the queen is on D2, there is no queen H5 anymore. So we can castle. Maybe bishop takes H3 was a move there, by the way. I have just noticed. So bishop H3, bishop takes, knight F3, check, knight E2. But my queen is also hanging there, right? Maybe it was nothing. Gleck is in 4 knights, but that's the same. I mean, that's the same thing. If you put the knight on F3, there is just a transposition in many cases. We can think of playing queen A4 now, by the way. Attacking C2. How white is going to protect it? Like rook to C1 misses the A3. Will there be a good defense, by the way? Well, bishop takes D4, obviously. Okay, let's forget about it for now. It's not decisive whatsoever. Queen on C3. Well, without the pawn on A3, it could have been possible to play bishop to B4. Just winning, right? But it's not that case. It's not that case, though. Okay, what to do? What to do here? If we play queen A4, there is indeed bishop takes D4. Should we just take on E4 and play? No. We should keep our light script bishop for sure. It's very important. It is very important. Well, I don't know. What's the point behind queen C3? Is something like C5 is prepared. Can be the thing, but I don't think it's very dangerous. So, what to do here? Queen C6 or queen E6? Intending queen to G6. Well, yes, queen to E6 may look like an interesting option here. Should be very careful about D5 square though, but I think for now it's fine. Why cannot castle now because of knight E2? Doesn't matter which side, long or short, there's knight E2, winning. H3 is also under pressure, so if castles then I take there. If rook goes away from H1, I take there. What else? The idea behind queen E6 is to try something like queen G6 maybe. Attacking that bishop. And we're just waiting for white's action here. Okay, knight to G5. Isn't it bad? What if I just take on G5, bishop G5, and then queen G6, or maybe queen G6 immediately? What after queen G6? What's going on? Let's try it. I don't see anything wrong with queen G6 move here. Maybe taking on G5 immediately was a bit better version of it. If bishop D5, I think I will just take rook D5 and then take on G5, and I win material, surely. So what white is going to do now? Queen to D2, but it doesn't quite help. If I take on G5, bishop G5, and then knight to C2, queen C2, queen G5, I'm also winning a lot of important stuff in the position, right? Oh, I'll just take it. Come on. What's the problem? Rook G1, just knight F3 wins. So I'm having two minor pieces and the queen. against the rook. I told you knight e2 was possible. Doesn't matter where you castle, actually. So that's the thing. And don't tell me I didn't actually I didn't make you aware of it, right? I told you knight e2 doesn't matter where you castle, and you castle, so it's entirely your fault, Prom Knight. Okay, just kidding. So I guess that's the main drawback of this approach for black. It looks too aggressive, and there is a reason why black shouldn't play it. I guess the rook to b1 is the right move here, and it somehow breaks the coordination. So I don't think I can play rook b8 because there is stuff like that. Now, I don't like it at all. So probably black is forced to do something like queen to c8 now, which no longer looks that great, right? So you can continue in the same fashion, but now I have, like, you know, this setup. Yeah, and once we got something like that, I felt very comfortable, actually. Maybe knight to e4 was not the best option. Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe you should have just captured on d4, in fact. And then, you know, moving your knight to e4. Could have been an option. With such a great knight, of course, you don't need to castle anywhere. But again, question is if you get anything. A strange position. Well, you were right, guys. That was a strange game, the strange position. But we've learned something of it, right? So, black's coordination was quite good. White failed to actually get anything active, and then just missed this tactics on the g file. All in all, I think that was not a good episode. We're finishing with this game right now. I wish you all the best, and if nothing bad happens, in 1 week, we should be able to meet again. The same time, same place, same, maybe not the same contents, of course, because I'm going to play, like, you know, crazy openings next time, mainly. So let's see. Everything will depend on if there is a Foxy among viewers. If there will be Foxy next time, well, I'll be just playing shitty openings just to make her feel good. If not, well, we'll just mix in the things, all right? What will stay the same is that we will try to analyze each and every game, just as usual, to make you learn something new, all right? Hope it was okay, and see you soon. Bye-bye, guys.